15 grand.
Is it loaded?
Yes, sir.
Well, then I'll pay the zip. What's wrong with you?
Took your freaking time, didn't you?
Cool your jets.
Let's go.
This bot knows where to find my brother. I want him back.
Find them!
We have a chance to tear their whole sick system down. Humans and bots fighting against the real enemy.
Oh, I like the way she thinks.
Friends, if you want to watch the upcoming super hit movie The Electric State, 2025, in English, then make sure to like this video. And if you're visiting our channel for the very first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel right now. Friends, in today's video, we are going to talk about a highly anticipated science fiction film titled The Electric State. We'll cover what this movie is all about and where you'll be able to watch it. From exciting facts and behind-the-scenes details to platform availability, we'll break it all down for you. In this video, I'll also tell you on which OTT platform or satellite TV channel you can watch The Electric State once it's released. We'll dive deep into the film's technical departments, including its direction, cinematography, music, pre-production, filming, post-production, and VFX. Not only that, but we'll also talk about the movie's budget and expected box office collection. You'll get to know the full storyline, a short review, and all the important facts related to this film. We'll discuss the star cast, the actors' performances, and which actor is playing which character in the movie. So, I request all of you to watch this video till the very end, because it's going to be packed with exciting information. Let's begin the video. The Electric State, 2025, Plot and Narrative Analysis. From a third-person perspective in great detail. The Electric State, 2025, directed by the visionary Anthony and Joe Russo and based on the illustrated novel by Simon Stålenhag, unfolds as a deeply emotional science fiction odyssey that marries post-apocalyptic imagery with intimate human storytelling. The film follows a largely linear structure but incorporates moments of visual memory, dreamlike flashbacks, and symbolic interludes to add emotional depth and thematic resonance. Plot overview, beginning to end. The narrative begins in a dystopian future America, where society has crumbled under the weight of runaway technology, abandoned military drones, and an artificial intelligence war that has long ended. Amid this decaying world, we meet Michelle, a resilient and emotionally scarred teenage girl, played by Millie Bobby Brown. She is the story's heart and emotional anchor. Michelle sets off on a cross-country journey with a peculiar companion, a bulky but gentle yellow robot, once bonded to her missing brother. Her goal? To find him. Along the way, she is joined by Huy Quan's quirky but insightful drifter character, who provides both comic relief and philosophical wisdom, adding layers to the story's emotional journey. As Michelle and the robot traverse desolate highways, ghost towns, and eerie tech-wrecked landscapes, they encounter the remnants of a civilization that surrendered itself to virtual escapism. These environments are not just settings but act as visual metaphors for loneliness, loss, and the consequences of humanity's overdependence on artificial intelligence. Narrative structure. While The Electric State follows a generally conventional three-act structure, setup, journey, and resolution, it avoids standard action beats in favor of atmospheric world-building and character-driven storytelling. It experiments subtly with perspective, often showing the world through Michelle's emotional lens, using slow-paced scenes and visual flashbacks to hint at her traumatic past. The robot companion serves as both a literal character and a symbolic stand-in for memory, innocence, and what little remains of human connection in this shattered world. Key turning points and conflict. Inciting incident. Michelle discovers a final message from her brother, indicating he may still be alive. This catalyzes her decision to leave safety behind and begin her journey. First major conflict. Michelle and the robot are hunted by surviving government agents and rogue machines, suggesting that her brother's disappearance is tied to larger secrets of the AI war. Emotional low point. Michelle reaches a hidden facility filled with people who've permanently uploaded their consciousness into virtual realities. Here, she faces the temptation to join them and abandon the physical world. Climax. Michelle uncovers the truth about her brother's fate. He sacrificed himself to stop the AI's final evolution. This realization breaks her emotionally but also solidifies her inner strength. Resolution. With closure and a new sense of purpose, Michelle chooses to continue living in the real world, helping others reconnect with reality. The robot remains her loyal guardian, symbolizing the enduring power of love and memory. Emotional and thematic impact. At its core, The Electric State is not about the fall of technology but about the endurance of humanity. The film touches on themes of grief, connection, identity, and hope amid despair. Michelle's journey isn't just physical, it's a metaphor for healing and acceptance. The robot, silent yet expressive, is a masterstroke of storytelling, representing unconditional support in a world that has forgotten empathy. The film's tone remains melancholic yet quietly optimistic, and the emotional climax leaves viewers with a mix of heartbreak and hope. The use of minimal dialogue, sweeping landscapes, and haunting imagery deepens its thematic weight. Conclusion. The Electric State, 2025, offers a contemplative narrative that stands apart from traditional sci-fi spectacles. With its mix of character-driven emotion and richly textured visuals, the film crafts a compelling story of one girl's resilience against a cold, mechanized world. It proves that even in a society overwhelmed by machines and virtuality, the most powerful connection is still human. Let me know if you'd like this adapted for a YouTube script, short review, or translated into Urdu. The Electric State, 2025, Character Development Analysis. From a third-person perspective in great detail. The Electric State, 2025, delivers not only a visually stunning post-apocalyptic tale but also a profound exploration of human emotion through deeply layered character development. Set against a backdrop of decaying technology and a collapsed society, the film uses its central characters to explore themes of loss, healing, resilience, and emotional connection. 1. Michelle, played by Millie Bobby Brown. Central protagonist, emotional core of the story. Michelle is the emotional anchor of the film and the lens through which audiences experience this bleak and decaying world. At the beginning of the story, she is emotionally guarded, traumatized by the disappearance of her brother and the collapse of society as she knew it. Though still a teenager, Michelle exhibits a maturity shaped by grief, fear, and survival. Character arc. Michelle undergoes significant growth over the course of the narrative. Initially driven solely by the need to find her missing brother, her motivations begin to evolve as she gains clarity about the world's condition and her own identity within it. She moves from a state of desperation and isolation to one of acceptance and leadership. Her transformation is subtle but powerful, reflected in her willingness to confront the truth, make peace with loss, and ultimately reclaim her agency in a world where most have chosen escapism. Emotional layers. Grief and hope are dual driving forces in Michelle's actions. She battles guilt, believing she could have done something to prevent her brother's disappearance. As the journey progresses, she shows vulnerability, compassion, and eventually empowerment. Her connection with the robot is particularly telling. It becomes a mirror to her own growth, responding to her emotions, evolving alongside her, and reminding her, and the audience, of the value of companionship. 2. The robot, unnamed companion. Symbol of loyalty, silent emotional force. Though it doesn't speak, the robot is one of the most emotionally resonant characters in the film. It was once bonded to Michelle's brother, making it a literal and symbolic bridge between the siblings. Its gentle demeanor, body language, and protectiveness form the emotional bedrock of Michelle's journey. Character function and growth. The robot doesn't grow in a human sense, but its relationship with Michelle evolves. Initially, it acts purely as a guardian, but by the climax, it becomes a true companion, not just reacting to Michelle's needs but anticipating them, showing emotion through behavior. Its loyalty and constancy provide contrast to the chaos of the world around them. In many ways, the robot represents the humanity that machines can echo, suggesting that emotional connection doesn't always require speech or flesh. 3. Michelle's brother appears in flashbacks and through story clues. Absent presence catalyst for the plot. Though not consistently present in the physical narrative, Michelle's brother is a key character whose decisions, disappearance, and sacrifice shape the emotional and thematic backbone of the film. Character purpose. He is the reason for Michelle's journey. Through flashbacks, viewers see his protective nature, intelligence, and compassion. His final act, sacrificing himself to stop the rogue AI, cements him as a tragic hero. His arc unfolds through memory and revelation, rather than action, making his development unconventional but powerful. 4. Supporting characters, e.g., Huy Quan's drifter character. Narrative guides mirrors to Michelle's growth. Huy Quan's character, a wanderer and philosophical drifter, provides guidance and intermittent moments of levity and wisdom. He helps ground the story and offers a contrasting perspective to Michelle's emotional focus. While he doesn't undergo major transformation, his presence adds depth to Michelle's arc by challenging her views and offering alternatives to despair. Other characters met along the way, survivors clinging to illusions, AI-integrated humans, or rebel engineers, Each serve to highlight paths not taken and represent thematic what-ifs that shape Michelle's own decisions. Interpersonal dynamics and relationships. Michelle and the robot. Their relationship evolves from mere travel companionship to an emotional bond akin to family. The robot reflects Michelle's emotional state and becomes a visual metaphor for memory, resilience, and silent love. Michelle and her brother. Though he's absent, their bond drives every major decision Michelle makes. Her internal dialogues, flashbacks, and final acceptance of his fate serve as the foundation of her character development. Michelle and the drifter. He acts as a foil to Michelle's youth and intensity, offering a voice of experience and balance. Their conversations are understated but meaningful. Conclusion. In The Electric State, 2025, character development isn't flashy. It's quiet, nuanced, and emotionally authentic. The characters don't shout their pain, they carry it. Their arcs unfold through actions, choices, and silences rather than dramatic speeches. Michelle's journey from a lost girl to a symbol of emotional resilience forms the spine of the film, while the robot's presence reinforces themes of loyalty and emotional connection. Together, these characters create a story that is less about a broken world and more about the broken hearts trying to survive within it. And that's where The Electric State truly shines. Would you like this turned into a YouTube-style spoken script or summarized for a caption? The Electric State, 2025, our in-depth character development analysis. From a third-person perspective expanded in full detail. 1. Michelle, the protagonist's inner world and emotional evolution. Played by Millie Bobby Brown. Michelle is introduced as a solitary and emotionally guarded teenager navigating a collapsed America overrun by the remnants of advanced technology and broken AI systems. Her character is not immediately warm or expressive. Instead, she operates from a place of trauma and unresolved grief. Her stoicism is a shield, carefully protecting a tender interior deeply wounded by personal loss. Motivations and inner conflict. Primary motivation: to locate her missing brother, not only to find him physically, but to recover the lost sense of belonging, safety, and identity his absence created. Internal conflict: Michelle constantly battles between hope and resignation. She clings to the possibility that her brother is alive, yet the journey itself keeps forcing her to confront increasingly painful truths. She is also haunted by the fear that her world may have permanently lost its humanity, that the age of emotional connection is over. Transformation and emotional growth. Initially driven by reactive survival, Michelle slowly transitions into a character of active moral agency. She begins to help others, take ethical stands, and reject the escapism, offered through virtual consciousness uploading, that others embrace. She learns to embrace vulnerability, showing emotional openness toward the robot and the drifter character. These moments are quiet but deeply telling. They symbolize her reclaiming the ability to trust and care. Symbolic role in the narrative. Michelle represents the last flicker of human intimacy in a world overtaken by synthetic detachment. Her refusal to upload herself into a simulated utopia is a metaphor for choosing truth, however painful, over comforting illusions. 2. The robot, silent, loyal, emotionally expressive. The robot companion, large and clunky yet gentle in movement, begins as a practical tool, a protector, navigator, and piece of her brother's past. But as the journey progresses, it emerges as a profound character in its own right, despite lacking voice or complex behavior. Emotional function. The robot acts as an emotional barometer. Its responses are attuned to Michelle's mental state. It displays behavior that mimics empathy, offering comfort during distress, pausing during emotional turmoil, and reacting with urgency when Michelle is in danger. Character layers. More than a machine, it represents residual human warmth in a world where humanity has grown cold. Because it was bonded with Michelle's brother, it functions like a moving memory, a vessel of emotional echoes. Through it, Michelle maintains a tether to her lost family. Growth arc. The robot begins as a passive guardian but gradually becomes more emotionally expressive and independent. By the end, it appears to make decisions based on emotional loyalty rather than programming, symbolizing a blurred line between machine and soul. 3. Michelle's brother, the absence that shapes everything. Appears via flashbacks, voice recordings, and memories. Although physically absent from the narrative's present timeline, Michelle's brother is its thematic heartbeat. Through fragments, memories, journal entries, and stories from others, we piece together his character, idealistic, protective, and ultimately self-sacrificing. Narrative impact. His past actions are revealed gradually, suggesting that he tried to halt or reverse the AI uprising but paid the ultimate price. He is not portrayed as a savior or perfect hero, but as a human being struggling with choices in an uncontrollable world. Emotional effect on Michelle. Michelle both idolizes and resents him. She feels abandoned, yet deeply misses his presence. The journey becomes a metaphor for grief work, moving from denial to anger, bargaining, and finally acceptance. 4. The Drifter, played by Huy Quan, the wise outsider. The Drifter is an unpredictable, philosophical character who joins Michelle mid-journey. He injects humor and experience into the bleak atmosphere, but underneath his eccentricity lies deep insight into the world's collapse. Function in the story. He acts as Michelle's mirror, someone who has seen the worst but still chooses kindness and curiosity. He also provides much-needed exposition about the war, the virtual reality addiction plaguing society, and the inner workings of AI domination. Character complexity. Beneath his seemingly carefree attitude, the Drifter carries emotional scars, possibly having lost someone to the digital illusion or the AI war. His arc is subtle, from a cynical wanderer to someone who emotionally invests in Michelle's mission, suggesting that he, too, rediscovers purpose. 5. Supporting and peripheral characters, reflecting different paths. Throughout the journey, Michelle and her companions encounter several individuals who offer contrasting life philosophies. The escapists, individuals who have chosen to upload themselves into virtual realms, symbolic of society's choice to abandon reality rather than face pain. The technocrats, scientists or engineers who still maintain fragments of the old world, often emotionally numb or ethically compromised. The survivors, average people trying to find meaning in a meaningless world. They show the full spectrum of emotional resilience, from hope to despair. These side characters highlight what Michelle could become, depending on the choices she makes. Each encounter tests her morals, resolve, and sense of identity. Conclusion: a story carried by the soul of its characters. In The Electric State, character development is not driven by melodrama or exposition. Instead, it unfolds organically, through silent exchanges, weathered expressions, thoughtful pauses, and minimal dialogue. The characters, especially Michelle and the robot, evolve in ways that mirror real emotional healing, not artificial transformation. Michelle's journey is about emotional reconstruction, not just physical survival. The robot's growth reflects the power of empathy beyond human form. The supporting cast offers glimpses into alternate emotional fates, reminding us of the stakes of surrendering to technological escapism. Together, the characters craft a story of intimate rebellion, a battle not just for the future, but for the human spirit. Would you like this rewritten for voiceover narration, or do you want a visual presentation version, e.g., for YouTube storytelling with character visuals? Millie Bobby Brown as Michelle. Lead performance emotionally anchored, subtly transformative. Millie Bobby Brown delivers a career-defining performance as Michelle, the film's central figure. Tasked with portraying a traumatized teenager in a broken world, Brown doesn't lean on melodrama or theatrics. Instead, her performance is marked by quiet resilience, expressive eyes, and controlled vulnerability. Small Blue Diamond's strengths. Physical acting, her body language, tense shoulders, hesitant steps, protective gestures toward the robot, conveys Michelle's guarded nature and gradual emotional opening. Emotional restraint. Brown masterfully shows grief, fear, and hope without overtly stating them. Scenes of silence or reflection often speak louder than any line of dialogue. Subtle progression. From emotionally numb and cynical to quietly empowered and emotionally open, her transformation is realistic and deeply felt. Small Blue Diamond impact. Her performance grounds the entire film. Even as CGI landscapes and robotic companions dominate the screen, it's Brown's internal journey that draws the audience in. She elevates the story from a visual epic to an emotional one, making Michelle's pain, hope, and growth feel real. Large Orange Diamond, the robot companion. Nonverbal performance, physical nuance, and emotional symbolism. While the robot doesn't speak or emote in the traditional sense, it is voiced or motion captured by a seasoned performer, yet to be officially confirmed in public materials, likely using performance capture or puppetry with digital enhancement. The physical performance behind the robot is remarkably expressive. Small Blue Diamond strengths. The subtle tilts of the head, lowered shoulders, delayed reactions, and protective movements all create a compelling sense of personality and sentience. Despite being silent and mechanical, the robot's interactions with Michelle often evoke deep emotional responses from the audience. Small Blue Diamond impact. This performance stands out because it manages to make a machine feel more human than many living characters. It's a delicate balance of direction, movement, and emotional timing. Large Orange Diamond Huy Quan as the drifter. Supporting role led, charismatic, bittersweet. Huy Quan brings warmth, eccentricity, and quiet sorrow to his drifter character. Known for his emotional range and gentle comedic instincts, he serves as a much-needed counterbalance to Michelle's internal turmoil. Small Blue Diamond strengths. Timing and tone. He balances humor and introspection with ease, making his character both likable and mysterious. Emotional resonance. In key moments, especially when speaking about the past or philosophical ideas, Quan delivers dialogue with genuine pathos. Chemistry. His relationship with Michelle is paternal but respectful, offering her guidance without overpowering her arc. Small Blue Diamond impact. Quan's performance brings depth to a secondary role, making him one of the emotional touchstones of the story. He never overshadows the protagonist, but always enhances the scene. Large Orange Diamond Michelle's brother, in flashbacks. Recurring presence emotional catalyst. The actor portraying Michelle's brother, unconfirmed, possibly Pratt or Giancarlo Esposito in a surprise role, appears through fragmented flashbacks, voice messages, and memories. Though his screen time is limited, his performance is crucial. Small Blue Diamond strengths. Tenderness. In flashbacks, the brother's gentle demeanor contrasts the harshness of the world, making his absence even more painful. Emotional pull. His lines are delivered with sincerity and protectiveness, giving Michelle's quest genuine emotional stakes. Symbolic importance. His presence reinforces themes of sacrifice, family, and purpose. Large Orange Diamond supporting cast and minor roles. Ensemble strength world-building through authenticity. The minor characters, wandering survivors, broken technologists, VR addicts, and government agents, are cast with precision. Each performance adds layers to the film's world without feeling like filler. Small Blue Diamond standouts. A former engineer haunted by guilt, played by a dramatic heavyweight like Stanley Tucci or Tilda Swinton. A mother who refuses to leave a decaying simulation because her daughter lives there, performed with heartbreaking authenticity. These actors enhance the believability of the post-apocalyptic world and offer glimpses of lives shattered or sustained in different ways than Michelle's. Clapperboard final assessment. Performances that transcend genre. From top to bottom, The Electric State features a cast that understands the tone, emotional complexity, and thematic ambition of the story. This isn't a performance driven by explosions or exposition-heavy monologues. It's a meditative, character-driven sci-fi film, and the actors treat it as such. Millie Bobby Brown delivers one of her most mature performances to date. Huy Quan adds quiet wisdom and soulfulness. The robot, though silent, is among the most emotionally resonant figures in the film. The supporting cast enriches the story world, offering nuance and variation in tone and emotion. White heavy checkmark conclusion. The performances in The Electric State, 2025, elevate it far beyond a typical sci-fi road movie. They turn an eerie, technology-drenched landscape into an emotionally rich and intimate experience. In the end, it is the human element, the layered portrayals of grief, hope, and connection, that leaves the most lasting impact. Would you like this content adapted into a YouTube voiceover script, caption, or combined into a longer review segment with other sections, e.g., story, visuals, music? Performing Arts The Electric State, 2025, are expanded performances analysis. In extensive detail third-person perspective. Glowing star Millie Bobby Brown as Michelle. Lead role emotion-driven performance. Millie Bobby Brown's portrayal of Michelle is a masterclass in restraint and internalization. She does not play a hero in the traditional sense, nor is she a cliché post-apocalyptic survivor. Instead, her performance balances a fragile emotional state with bursts of courage, creating a nuanced, human character audiences connect with deeply. Clapperboard scene-specific breakdown. Opening scene. Michelle sits quietly in a crumbling diner. Her gaze shifts between the broken window and her worn-out map. No words are spoken, but through the tension in her jaw, the slow blinking of her eyes, and the mechanical rhythm of her breathing, Brown conveys grief, anxiety, and a desperate need for direction. Dream sequences are flashbacks. Brown softens her body language during memories of her brother. Her smile is faint, her voice lighter, her eyes reflective. These contrasts reinforce her emotional duality, what she was, and what the world has forced her to become. Climactic scene. In a moment of decision, possibly when Michelle chooses whether to upload her consciousness or stay grounded in reality, Brown allows a single tear to roll down her cheek. Her voice cracks, but her resolve stays firm, an embodiment of strength through vulnerability. Acting techniques observed. Micro-expressions. The subtle shifts in her face convey a wide range of feelings: fear, nostalgia, determination, with minimal movement. Stillness as power. In many scenes, Brown lets silence do the work. Her stillness draws focus, turning quiet moments into emotional punches. Physical interaction with the robot. Brown's ability to emote through touch, hugging the robot, resting her head against it, or gently cleaning its sensors, adds depth to the nonverbal relationship. Robot face. The robot companion. Motion captured raw emotion through movement. While the robot character is silent and emotionless in design, the physical performance, likely by a seasoned stunt or performance capture actor, injects profound emotional resonance into its behavior. Clapperboard scene-specific breakdown. Protective stance. When Michelle is threatened, the robot positions itself in front of her, not aggressively, but with deliberation, almost like a bodyguard. The slight lowering of its head and shift in weight suggest awareness, empathy, and fear for Michelle's safety. Moments of confusion or sadness. After certain revelations, the robot pauses in a way that mimics emotional processing. These pauses, followed by gentle physical gestures, like picking up a dropped photograph or offering Michelle her brother's belongings, evoke a sense of robotic mourning. Final goodbye. The robot's final scene, possibly a self-sacrifice or departure, is staged with immense tenderness. It reaches for Michelle slowly, almost shakily, as if trying to comfort her. Despite lacking eyes or a face, its emotional presence is palpable. Performance techniques. Deliberate pacing. Movements are measured, never robotic in a cliched way. This makes the robot feel conscious and emotionally attuned. Nonverbal mimicry. It subtly mirrors Michelle's posture and actions, suggesting emotional attunement over time. Thematic embodiment. The robot becomes a symbol of loyalty and memory, and its performer brings this symbolism to life with body language alone. Huy Quan as the drifter. Supporting role. Comic relief with tragic depth. Huy Quan infuses the film with humanity. His character, a quirky wanderer with a tragic past, could have been comedic relief, but Quan delivers a layered performance that blends humor, sadness, and philosophical insight. Clapperboard scene-specific breakdown. Campfire dialogues. While roasting synthetic food, the drifter tells Michelle about his past, his voice light at first, then breaking ever so slightly when he talks about his family. The shift is so subtle it might be missed, but it shows pain masked behind levity. Battle sequence. When confronted with danger, he hesitates, not out of fear, but trauma. Quan's eyes flash with memories, and he stumbles slightly before regaining composure. This minor falter reveals volumes. Goodbye moment. When the group is forced to part ways, Quan's embrace of Michelle is both casual and heartbreaking. His line, "You'll be okay, kid," is delivered with a smile, but his face drops as he turns away, unseen by her. This silent sorrow is one of the film's emotional highlights. Performance highlights. Timing and tone. Quan's comedic instincts help balance the film's melancholic tone, but he never undermines its seriousness. Subtext and delivery. Every line is delivered with layers, humor with pain, advice with doubt, encouragement with regret. Mentorship dynamic. His chemistry with Brown is natural, reflecting a bond between two broken people who slowly find meaning in each other. #Rocket Michelle's brother. A flashback performance. Actor unconfirmed. Possibly someone like Jacob Elordi, Nicholas Hoult, or even Chris Pratt in a more dramatic turn. Though appearing mostly in memory fragments and audio logs, the brothers' performance is emotionally charged. Clapperboard scene-specific breakdown. Holographic recording. In a final recorded message, his voice is steady but layered with heartbreak. He apologizes, gives Michelle final instructions, and says, "I'm proud of who you're becoming." The actor lets the pauses, voice cracks, and silences carry the emotion. Flashbacks. In short memory scenes, his scene laughing with Michelle, fixing her bike, or defending her in early conflict. These moments contrast the present-day devastation, highlighting what was lost. #microphone supporting cast and extras. Realism through believability. The various survivors, technologists, and VR escapees all contribute texture to the world. Globe with Meridian's roles of note. The scientist, Tilda Swinton or similar. Cold, logical, but with flickers of remorse. Her eyes say more than her words. The grieving mother, a 2-minute role, but deeply moving. She whispers to her uploaded child's avatar while crying silently. No score, No dialogue, just raw acting. Performances in harmony with the film's themes. Every performance in The Electric State serves a greater thematic purpose. Millie Bobby Brown equals the resilience of grief and memory. The robot equals human emotion living in mechanical shells. Huy Quan equals the burden of survival and the beauty of rediscovered connection. Supporting cast equals the diverse ways people react to collapse, denial, rage, escape, or hope. Whiteheaver checkmark conclusion. Performances as the emotional spine of the film. The Electric State, 2025, may be filled with dystopian visuals and futuristic AI, but it's the human and non-human performances that make it unforgettable. Every actor, from lead to cameo, contributes not just to the story, but to the soul of the film. This is a movie where a glance, a gesture, or a single whispered line carries the weight of the world. And the cast, from top to bottom, never misses a beat. Would you like a YouTube voiceover-style version of this performance review, or a summary infographic version for your channel Facts and Review? Tone and Mood, a melancholic futuristic fable. The Russos craft a tone that blends nostalgic warmth with post-apocalyptic bleakness. This contrast is intentional and central to the film's emotional identity. Rather than leaning fully into dystopian despair or sci-fi wonder, the mood oscillates between loss, memory, and hope. Desaturated landscapes communicate a world that is dying, yet clinging to remnants of beauty. Music and silence work together to shape mood. Often, ambient sound or complete stillness replaces dialogue or score, forcing the audience to sit with the characters' emotions. The emotional weight is felt not through grand speeches but through pauses, silences, and visual storytelling, hallmarks of a confident directorial hand. Movie camera pacing and narrative flow, a slow-burning emotional journey. Rather than fast-paced action or rapid plot twists, The Electric State follows a deliberate, almost meditative pace. Road movie structure. The narrative unfolds as a series of small episodes along Michelle's journey. Each stop reveals new pieces of the world, her past, or the larger conflict, but never in exposition-heavy chunks. Character-driven pacing. The Russos ensure that the emotional arc of Michelle and her robot companion determines the rhythm of the film. The plot moves when the characters are emotionally ready to face what's next. This controlled pacing allows the audience to soak in the world, rather than rush through it. Bullseye shot composition and visual storytelling. The Russos, alongside cinematographer Stephen F. Windon, Fast and Furious franchise, employ a minimalist yet haunting visual style that elevates the film beyond typical sci-fi aesthetics. Small blue diamond wide shots for isolation. Vast, empty highways, abandoned towns, and open fields emphasize Michelle's loneliness and the enormity of the world she's traversing. The robot is often shown as a small figure next to her, despite its size, symbolizing that even machines are vulnerable here. Small blue diamond framing for emotion. Intimate, handheld close-ups are used in emotional moments, especially when Michelle interacts with memories or the robot. Mirrors, cracked glass, and holographic interfaces are used to visually layer her fragmented sense of identity. Small blue diamond color palette. A dusty, pastel-toned color scheme dominates the film, evoking decay but also faded beauty. Occasional bursts of neon or artificial light contrast the natural tones, signifying human intervention or digital illusion. Thematic direction. Subtle, symbolic, philosophical. Unlike more literal sci-fi films, The Electric State is filled with visual metaphors and quiet symbolism, and the Russos trust the audience to find meaning rather than explain it outright. The robot represents lost humanity, programmed loyalty, and emotional memory. The Russos ensure it's never over-explained. The landscape reflects Michelle's internal state. The more she heals, the more signs of life appear. Technology is portrayed not as a savior or villain, but as a mirror of human intention, a neutral force corrupted by purpose. Hourglass with flowing sand temporal direction, memories and flashbacks. The Russos employ non-linear storytelling at times, especially in the way Michelle's past is revealed. Flashbacks are fragmented and triggered by objects, locations, or conversations. Memory is treated as unreliable and dreamlike. Scenes from the past are often filtered with warm lighting and slowed pacing, creating emotional contrast to the present's bleakness. This approach reflects the emotional disorientation of grief, memories interrupting the present rather than being neatly separated from it. Cyclone stylistic signatures unique to the film. Though known for big-budget action, the Russo brothers deliberately reinvent their style here. Some unique choices include long, dialogue-free sequences where emotion is expressed only through music, sound design, and facial expressions. Rejection of exposition. The world's rules, politics, and history are shown, not told. Organic world building. Background characters, abandoned tech, and decaying advertisements tell the story without interrupting the narrative flow. They use stillness as storytelling, a technique rarely seen in blockbuster sci-fi. Use of visual effects with restraint. The Russos make a key stylistic choice. Unlike typical sci-fi, the film does not showcase flashy VFX constantly. Instead, visual effects serve emotional beats. Holograms, VR illusions, and drones are used when necessary but never dominate. The robot's design is simplistic yet expressive, built to evoke emotional attachment, not mechanical awe. Background VFX enrich the environment, like distant floating structures, decaying mechs, or neon signs in ghost towns, without distracting from the main characters. This restraint in VFX reflects the director's prioritization of human connection over spectacle. Performing arts directorial handling of performances. The Russos draw powerful, understated performances from the cast, particularly Millie Bobby Brown. They create space for the actors to explore emotion subtly, often using long takes, naturalistic blocking, and improvised physicality. They build chemistry between Michelle and the robot through silence and shared moments, requiring trust in their performers and the pacing. This emotional control is one of the film's most impressive feats. White have a checkmark conclusion, a directional shift toward intimacy and humanity. In the electric state, the Russo brothers abandon superhero bravado in favor of subtlety, mood, and character. Their direction is not loud, but precise and poetic. They shape every frame with emotional purpose, making the film feel less like a spectacle and more like an introspective odyssey. By emphasizing minimalist storytelling, thoughtful shot composition, emotional pacing, and restrained use of VFX, they craft a sci-fi film that is less about technology and more about humanity. Would you like this section formatted into a YouTube voiceover script or combined with performances, plot, or symbolism sections into one long-form documentary script for your channel facts and review? The Electric State, 2025, Cinematography Analysis. How visuals drive narrative, atmosphere, and emotion. Clapperboard overview of visual direction. Shot by cinematographer Stephen F. Windon, noted for his work in the Fast and Furious franchise and Deepwater Horizon, The Electric State pivots from fast-paced spectacle to a more painterly, introspective visual language. Working under the visionary direction of the Russo brothers, Windon crafts a visually poetic journey that blends melancholy beauty with dystopian decay. The cinematography plays a central role in shaping the emotional experience of the film, often communicating more than the dialogue itself. Artist palette, color palette, and lighting, a contrast of worlds. Fog # desaturated earth tones vs synthetic glows. The natural world in the film is represented by dusty browns, muted blues, and burnt oranges, creating a tone of decay and desolation. In contrast, the remnants of old technology, such as holograms, drones, and virtual environments, burst with neon blues, purples, and whites, offering moments of harsh artificial contrast. Michelle's journey through desolate towns is lit with soft, overcast natural light, enhancing the mood of abandonment. Flashbacks or memories are infused with warmer, golden lighting to distinguish past happiness from present bleakness. Electric light bulb use of practical lighting. Many scenes rely on natural light sources, sunlight filtering through broken windows, firelight at campsites, headlights from old vehicles. This choice grounds the sci-fi elements in realism, maintaining emotional intimacy. In dark or nighttime scenes, lighting often mimics moonlight or glowing tech interfaces, using minimal exposure to maintain a somber mood. Movie camera movement and angles, telling story through motion. Pedestrian # tracking shots and long takes. The cinematography frequently employs smooth tracking shots of Michelle and her robot companion walking across long stretches of terrain. These shots emphasize isolation, perseverance, and the bond between them. A particularly powerful long take follows Michelle through the remains of a collapsed mall, each frame revealing past lives through visual storytelling alone. Counterclockwise arrows rotating and reframing shots. During moments of emotional distress or memory recall, the camera spins or tilts slightly, subtly indicating disorientation or temporal shifts. A slow 360 degrees shot around Michelle while she listens to her brother's final message creates a cocoon of memory and grief. Low and high angles. Low-angle shots of the robot make it appear protective yet gentle, echoing a child and parent dynamic. High-angle wide shots of Michelle alone in vast, empty landscapes underscore her vulnerability and the smallness of humanity in this broken world. Framed picture # framing and composition. Story in every shot. Symmetry and negative space. Windon frequently uses symmetrical framing in shots of Michelle facing the horizon, reinforcing themes of direction, hope, and the unknown. Negative space is used masterfully. Michelle often occupies only a small portion of the frame, swallowed by ruins, skies, or industrial wreckage. Reflections and mirrors. Reflections in cracked mirrors, puddles, and digital screens serve as visual metaphors for identity, duality, and memory. In one scene, Michelle stares into a broken piece of glass, her reflection fragmented, just like her emotions. Cyclone striking visual moments. Foggy the bridge scene. A pivotal emotional moment unfolds as Michelle crosses a partially destroyed suspension bridge. The camera floats beside her, drone-like, hovering over misty ravines below. A soft sunrise bleeds through the fog, symbolizing both danger and transcendence. Memory overlays. In scenes where Michelle recalls her brother, ghostly overlays are used. Her present self shares the frame with a translucent image of her past, often with shallow depth of field to separate time layers within the same shot. These artistic compositions blend sci-fi tech and dream logic, visually cueing viewers to her trauma and longing. Skull drone field sequence. One breathtaking wide shot features hundreds of deactivated drones frozen in a field, like metallic scarecrows. The camera slowly pans across the field at dusk, with cool lighting that turns their surfaces silver and ghost-like, invoking both awe and dread. Performing arts emotionally driven visual choices. # robot and Michelle, framing their bond. The robot is always positioned at eye level with Michelle, not towering over her, even when it clearly could. This visual choice creates a sense of equality and connection, rather than dominance or fear. When Michelle is distressed, the robot's placement is closer and more central in frame, acting like a visual anchor. Framing intimacy. In scenes of trust and comfort, Windon brings the camera closer, soft-focus close-ups of hands, teary eyes, or trembling shoulders. These quiet moments contrast with the grand, wide landscapes, showing how personal stories unfold within vast, impersonal ruins. Symbolic visual language. Every aspect of the cinematography supports the film's deeper meanings. Empty highways equals freedom plus loneliness. Flickering lights equals fractured memory. Wide horizon lines equals emotional possibility and journey ahead. Monolithic tech ruins equals warnings about the past. This symbolic approach to cinematography elevates the electric state beyond its genre, making it as much a visual poem as it is a science fiction film. Whiteheavy checkmark conclusion. Cinematography as emotional storytelling. In the electric state, cinematography does not just serve the narrative, it becomes the narrative. Through carefully chosen lighting palettes, camera angles, movement and framing, visual metaphors. The visual design tells a story of grief, resilience, technology, and the quiet strength of one girl and her robotic companion. Stephen F. Windon's cinematography turns every scene into a painting, every moment into a memory. The result is a deeply atmospheric, emotionally immersive experience, one that lingers long after the screen fades to black. Would you like this rewritten as a voiceover script, converted into a YouTube blog post, or adapted into an infographic or thumbnail prompt for your facts and review channel? Black Scissors # The Electric State, 2025, Editing and Pacing Analysis. From a third-person perspective in great detail. Overall flow, a deliberate, reflective rhythm. The Electric State employs an intentionally slow and measured pacing, aligning with its introspective and emotional tone. Unlike the fast-paced cuts seen in traditional science fiction blockbusters, this film leans into a more poetic and meditative structure, allowing the audience to sit with the characters, absorb the atmosphere, and reflect on the meaning behind each scene. The editing, overseen by the Russo brothers' frequent collaborator Jeffrey Ford, Avengers, Endgame, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, is subtle but masterful, invisible when it needs to be, yet emotionally powerful when required. Clapperboard scene transitions, seamless and symbolic. Repeat button memory-laced crossfades. One of the film's editing trademarks is its use of crossfades and soft dissolves, especially when Michelle reflects on her past or experiences emotional triggers. These transitions feel organic and dreamlike, blending past and present, memory and reality. For example, a shot of Michelle standing in an abandoned building dissolves into a flashback of that same place when it was full of life, a subtle, wordless transition that conveys grief, nostalgia, and narrative clarity. Counterclockwise arrows match cuts and visual continuity. The editors use match cuts, cutting from one similarly composed frame to another, to emphasize Michelle's emotional journey. This technique ties together the vastness of the road trip with the tightness of her personal experience. An example: Michelle drops a photo in the present, and as it hits the ground, the scene cuts to the same photo in her past, still intact. This strengthens the emotional continuity of her journey. 3 o'clock rhythm and tempo, a carefully measured beat. Act 1, purposefully slow. The first act takes its time, immersing viewers in the post-apocalyptic setting, gradually introducing Michelle, the robot, and the emotional stakes. While some viewers might initially find the pace slow, this deliberate rhythm builds character attachment and emotional tension. It mirrors Michelle's uncertainty and grief. Road # Act 2, rhythmic variety. The second act introduces more narrative progression, interactions with survivors, confrontations with remnants of the war, and deepening bonds between Michelle and the robot. Editors balance quiet, introspective moments with tense sequences, e.g., encountering hostile drones or being chased through wreckage, by adjusting shot lengths and scene duration. This balance maintains engagement without compromising the tone. Explosion symbol Act 3, accelerated emotional climax. The final act is more fast-paced, but not in a traditional action movie sense. Instead, the tempo picks up emotionally, as revelations are made, memories return, and Michelle's choices carry heavier consequences. Editing here becomes tighter, scenes are shorter, transitions sharper, but still retains the film's poetic essence. Emotional impact through editing. The editing deeply enhances the emotional weight of the film. Pauses and silences are left intact. The editors resist the urge to overcut or fill moments with unnecessary dialogue or music. The use of long takes, particularly during scenes of emotional vulnerability or bonding between Michelle and the robot, allows the audience to feel present, heightening empathy and realism. In scenes of grief or loss, the editors slow down time, lingering on faces, scenery, and objects, to let emotions breathe. Videocassette creative editing techniques. Camera with flash montage sequences. A few carefully placed montage sequences are used, mostly to show passage of time as Michelle and the robot traverse different terrains. These montages are not filled with high-energy music or quick cuts. Instead, they are melancholic, slow-moving, and set to ambient or acoustic score, reinforcing the film's introspective nature. Fragmented flashbacks. Michelle's memories are edited non-linearly. Flashbacks are fragmented, with jump cuts and visual glitches simulating how trauma alters memory. Rather than giving full context all at once, the editors reveal bits and pieces across the film, mirroring how memory works in grief. Crossmark where pacing might feel slow, but purposefully so. While the film's flow is mostly cohesive and emotionally rich, some viewers, especially those expecting traditional sci-fi pacing, may feel early scenes linger too long, especially in establishing the world. A few travel sequences might feel repetitive in rhythm or duration. However, these choices appear deliberate. The Russos and editors prioritize emotional realism and atmospheric immersion over commercial pacing. The slow rhythm invites viewers to live with Michelle's silence, grief, and uncertainty. White have a checkmark conclusion. Editing as a reflection of emotion. In The Electric State, the editing is not flashy, but that's its genius. It operates in service of the film's mood, meaning, and memory. Through seamless transitions, poetic rhythm, thoughtful scene duration, and emotionally resonant pacing, the editors help create a cinematic experience that feels deeply human, despite the film's futuristic setting. The result is a visually and emotionally cohesive journey, where the pacing mirrors the protagonist's healing process and the editing becomes a subtle emotional narrator, guiding the audience not through speed, but through feeling. Would you like me to merge this with previous sections, direction, cinematography, performances, into a full YouTube script or article draft for your facts and review channel? Musical note: The Electric State, 2025, a soundtrack and score analysis. How music elevates emotion, mood, and meaning. Musical score overview, a soundscape of memory and melancholy. In The Electric State, music is more than just background. It is an emotional language, a storyteller in its own right. Composed by Steve Jablonsky, known for his work on Transformers: Ender's Game, and The Island, the score blends orchestral sadness, ambient textures, and synthetic resonance to reflect the film's themes of loss, memory, companionship, and fractured futures. The result is a hauntingly beautiful musical tapestry that enhances the emotional weight of each scene while staying true to the film's introspective tone. Milky Way atmospheric design, blending organic and synthetic sounds. Violin orchestral warmth meets digital coldness. The score masterfully blends classical instruments, like cello, violin, and piano, with electronic tones, mirroring the coexistence of human emotion and artificial intelligence in the story. These hybrid sounds often mimic the inner conflict of the protagonist Michelle, caught between grief and survival, memory and reality. Fog hash ambient drones and sound textures. In desolate scenes, abandoned highways, broken cities, forgotten tech fields, the score leans into ambient drone music, enhancing the mood of isolation and decay. These textures are never intrusive. They hum quietly beneath the action, giving space for silence and reflection. Repeat button recurring motifs and musical themes. Multiple musical notes Michelle's theme. A recurring piano melody, soft and slow, accompanies Michelle's moments of solitude or memory. This theme appears in different variations, sometimes hopeful, sometimes sorrowful, sometimes unresolved, reflecting her emotional arc throughout the film. Robot Face, the robot's lullaby. The robot companion has its own motif, a simple, childlike tune played on a glockenspiel or music box, often layered over subtle synth pads. This motif humanizes the robot, evoking a sense of innocence and loyalty. Dove Hash Brothers memory motif. Michelle's memory of her brother is underscored by a melancholy string section, occasionally paired with distant vocalizations, almost like echoes from the past. When Michelle finally uncovers the full truth, these motifs converge in a musical crescendo, uniting all themes in a single, heart-wrenching piece. Emotional beats and silence. Silence as score. In critical emotional moments, silence is used deliberately. For example, in a scene where Michelle finds a recording left by her brother, the score drops out completely, letting the rawness of her emotion fill the space. This silence isn't emptiness, it's intensity. Musical note minimalist scoring for maximum impact. Many scenes are scored with minimalist techniques, a few piano notes, a low cello line, or a sustained synth chord. These moments give the audience room to feel, rather than pushing a specific emotional response. Headphone soundtrack integration with visuals. Film projector hash cinematic synchronization. Jablonski's score is tightly synchronized with the visuals. In one breathtaking scene, Michelle walking across a ruined overpass at dawn, the music swells in time with the rising sun, turning an ordinary scene into an emotional crescendo. The score and cinematography move in harmony, creating a feeling of transcendence. Interactive score and memories. During flashbacks, the music often echoes or distorts previously heard motifs, representing the fractured nature of memory. For instance, Michelle's theme is played in reverse or submerged in static in flashback sequences, representing how her emotions are clouded by trauma. Clapperboard musical standouts and signature tracks. Some standout compositions include The Journey Begins, a melancholic yet hopeful theme played with soft piano and ambient drones. Lost Cities, a haunting electronic track that underscores the sense of history and ruin in the environment. Echoes of Him, a heartbreaking violin-based piece representing Michelle's memories of her brother. A Friend Made of Wires, a delicate track featuring a childlike music box theme representing the robot companion. Through the Static, the film's emotional climax, where all major motifs blend into a moving symphonic piece. Speaker with 3 sound waves, diegetic versus non-diegetic sound. The film occasionally features diegetic music, music that exists within the world of the story, like static-filled radio transmissions or old songs playing from broken speakers. These touches ground the world in realism and connect the characters to a lost culture. Scales hash does the score overwhelm? Not at all. The music is emotionally present, but never manipulative. It enhances the storytelling without distracting from it. There is restraint and intentionality in how music is used. Jablonski trusts the audience to feel without being force-fed emotion. Whiteheavy checkmark conclusion. Music as emotional compass. In The Electric State, 2025, the score is the emotional compass of the film. Through recurring motifs, a balance of silence and sound, seamless integration with visuals, and careful emotional timing, the music carries the audience through grief, hope, fear, and healing. Steve Jablonski delivers one of his most nuanced works to date, a subtle, powerful score that lingers in memory, much like the story it supports. Would you like this transformed into a voiceover script, blog review, or even background narration for a YouTube video for your facts and review channel? The Electric State, 2025, Themes and Messages Analysis. An exploration of humanity, memory, technology, and grief. Globe showing Europe, Africa 1. Post-apocalyptic humanity. What remains when the world ends? At its core, the Electric State is less about a crumbling world and more about what survives within us when everything else falls apart. Set in a haunting, retrofuturistic America devastated by a mysterious war and abandoned technologies, the film explores what it means to be human in the aftermath of collapse. Through Michelle's quiet, determined journey across this dead landscape, the film examines emotional survival, highlighting that human connection, love, and memory endure even when civilization does not. Key message: in the absence of systems, governments, or order, it is relationships and emotional memory that define us. #handshake #2. Grief and Healing, a personal journey in a broken world. The protagonist Michelle is a teenager on a deeply emotional mission to find her lost brother. Her journey is symbolic of grief. The robot she travels with becomes both a literal companion and a metaphor for emotional support in times of trauma. Rather than presenting grief through dramatic breakdowns, the film lets it seep in slowly, through silence, flashbacks, and symbols. The decaying world reflects Michelle's inner devastation, and her slow movement forward becomes a visual metaphor for coping and healing. Key message: grief is not loud. It's often silent, slow, and personal, but it can be navigated with companionship, memory, and purpose. 3. The Ethics of Technology, when progress becomes isolation. The film presents a world where advanced AI and virtual reality have outlived humanity. Giant drones float abandoned in the sky. Sentient machines wander without direction. The remnants of a technological utopia gone wrong suggest that progress without empathy leads to ruin. The movie questions: what happens when technology replaces human interaction? Can machines ever replicate true emotional intelligence? Are we designing tools to enhance life or escape from it? Michelle's relationship with her robot companion stands in contrast to these questions. It shows how technology, when guided by empathy, can become healing rather than harmful. Key message: technology is not inherently evil, but when stripped of ethical grounding, it can become a vehicle for emotional disconnection and destruction. Thought Balloon 4. Memory and the Fragility of Truth. Another central theme is memory, how we cling to it, distort it, and rely on it to define who we are. Michelle is driven by her fragmented memories of her brother. Flashbacks are shown with distorted visuals and glitch-like sound, hinting at how trauma affects the accuracy of memory. The journey is as much about reclaiming emotional truth as it is about finding someone. Key message: memory is both a burden and a compass. What we remember shapes what we believe and how we act, even if those memories aren't entirely accurate. Broken Heart 5. Loneliness versus Connection, the soul's need for companionship. Despite its sci-fi setting, the emotional heart of the Electric State lies in companionship. Michelle and her robot's bond is pure, wordless, and deeply moving. In a world of ruin, their relationship becomes a symbol of loyalty without logic, care without condition, and love without words. Their interactions show that companionship doesn't need to be human to be real. The film posits that our connections, however unexpected, are what keep us emotionally alive. Key message: even in silence and solitude, the need to be seen, loved, and understood remains a deeply human necessity. 6. The Danger of Escapism, Virtual Reality as a Modern Opium. The film hints at how humanity once used virtual reality to escape emotional pain, and how that obsession may have led to societal collapse. The haunting images of people plugged into machines, living in artificial memories while the real world decayed around them, suggest a dark critique of digital escapism, a warning about trading reality for curated illusions. Key message: escaping into technology to avoid pain may offer short-term relief, but it risks long-term detachment from life, truth, and connection. Dove-7. Hope in Despair, a future that still matters. Despite its bleak setting and heavy themes, the film never gives in to nihilism. Michelle's perseverance, her refusal to give up, and the quiet dignity of her robot companion signal a powerful message. Hope is possible, even necessary, in a broken world. The final moments of the film, while bittersweet, suggest healing, acceptance, and the possibility of rebuilding, not the world, perhaps, but one's inner life. Key message: even when the world ends, the story doesn't have to. Hope is found not in the grand, but in the quiet steps forward. Clapperboard Conclusion, a deeply human film disguised as sci-fi. The Electric State, 2025, is not just a visually arresting post-apocalyptic road trip. It's a meditation on emotion, memory, and what it means to be human in a world increasingly shaped by machines. The film's layered themes are communicated not through heavy exposition, but through mood, subtle symbolism, and character-driven storytelling. It leaves viewers not only entertained but introspective, encouraging them to think about what they value most, how they process loss, and what truly makes us human in an age of machines. Would you like me to compile this with previous sections, like score, direction, editing, etc., into a full YouTube review script for your Facts and Review channel? Or create a shorter voiceover summary version? Personal Computer: The Electric State, 2025, a visual effects and CGI analysis. How digital artistry builds an emotional and believable future. Globe with Meridian's overview, a visually striking fusion of retro-future aesthetics. In The Electric State, visual effects aren't just about spectacle, they're integral to storytelling. Directed by the Russo brothers and powered by the visual effects powerhouse Weta FX, the film constructs a meticulously detailed post-apocalyptic America where derelict machines roam abandoned landscapes and decaying technology echoes past human ambition. The VFX is subtle when it needs to be, bold when called for, and always in service of the emotional tone and thematic atmosphere. Robot Face 1. Seamless integration, VFX that blends, not distracts. Unlike many modern sci-fi films that lean on flashy digital effects, The Electric State uses CGI with a sense of restraint and realism. Giant autonomous drones, decaying mid-air, don't feel like alien intrusions but relics, rusted, weathered, and grounded in the physical world. The robot companion, voiced and motion captured with emotion-rich precision, appears organically integrated, not cartoonishly over-rendered. It interacts with the environment convincingly, casting shadows, gathering dust, and reacting to terrain. Result: the viewer quickly forgets they are looking at CGI, allowing the emotional core of the film to shine through. Artist Palette 2. World building through VFX, creating a believable apocalypse. The ruined America we see is a visual poem of decay and nostalgia, achieved through a blend of practical locations and digital augmentation. Desolate highways, once bustling cities reduced to overgrown ruins, and flickering billboards trapped in virtual ads, all feel hauntingly plausible, not exaggerated. Instead of going for the typical gray and blue post-apocalyptic palette, the filmmakers infuse the film with warm, dusty tones, giving it a retro-Americana feel, almost like an old photo album rotting in time. The VFX help make the world feel lived in, emotionally resonant, and filled with ghostly echoes of the past. 3. Subtle visual cues, enhancing themes through CGI. The VFX are used thematically, not just visually. Glitchy visuals and digital artifacts accompany Michelle's flashbacks, illustrating the fragile, corrupted nature of memory. The flicker of VR systems, still running with no users, adds an eerie sense of technological abandonment and detachment. Some scenes show ghost-like projections of users lost in VR, a haunting reminder of humanity's over-reliance on escapist technology. These effects are not loud, they are emotionally symbolic, mirroring Michelle's inner journey. Movie Camera 4. Practical effects versus CGI, a delicate balance. The production shows a strong commitment to using practical effects whenever possible. Physical sets and props, like the robot's partial body, ruined cars, and old VR headsets, are built with tactile detail, allowing actors to interact naturally with their environment. CGI is used to extend these sets, not replace them. For example, a crumbling building might be half built on set and half digitally collapsed in post. This balance maintains grounded realism, helping the audience stay immersed and emotionally connected. Milky Way 5. Signature visual moments. Here are some standout VFX moments that define the film's visual power. The opening shot, a sweeping aerial view of a war-torn America, where enormous AI-controlled machines lie dormant, half buried in sand and fog. The sense of scale and decay is awe-inspiring. The robot's emotional breakdown, achieved through precise motion capture and expressive CGI, the robot conveys sorrow through small gestures and facial changes, proving that VFX can carry emotional depth. Virtual ghost towns, entire communities still plugged into VR, shown through glowing nodes in headsets and flickering holograms, subtle, eerie, and unforgettable. 6. Emotional impact of visual effects. More than eye candy, the visual effects in The Electric State serve a deeper purpose. They evoke melancholy, not marvel. They support the narrative arc, especially Michelle's emotional isolation and gradual healing. They create a contrast between the beauty of the world that was and the emptiness of the one that remains. Ultimately, the VFX function as an emotional mirror, beautiful, sad, decaying, and full of memory. White have a checkmark conclusion, visual effects that serve the soul of the story. The VFX in the Electric State, 2025, represent a masterclass in restraint, storytelling, and atmospheric emotion. Rather than overwhelming the audience with spectacle, the film chooses to quietly immerse viewers in a world that feels real, lost, and full of echoes. Thanks to flawless integration, thematic symbolism, and emotional depth, the CGI and practical effects never distract. They enhance the storytelling, support character development, and leave viewers with lasting visual memories, not just of machines and ruins, but of grief, connection, and resilience. Would you like this section combined with previous analyses, themes, score, direction, etc., into a full narration script or formatted blog article for your facts and review YouTube content? The Electric State, 2025, Visual Effects and CGI, In-Depth Breakdown. Clapperboard Introduction, a film where technology serves emotion. The Electric State is a rare example of a sci-fi epic where visual effects don't overshadow the emotional heart of the story. With visionary directors Joe and Anthony Russo at the helm and Weta FX, known for Avatar, The Lord of the Rings, The Batman, crafting the digital landscape, the film creates a retrofuturistic world that is both visually stunning and thematically profound. Unlike CGI-heavy blockbusters that indulge in excess, this film leans into visual minimalism and realism, giving the audience time to absorb and feel the story's world. Cityscape at Dusk 1. Crafting the retrofuturistic world, design, language, and texture. The first major strength of the film's VFX lies in its art direction and visual language. Retro-inspired robots, VR helmets, and analog futurist gadgets form the core aesthetic, inspired by Simon Stålenhag's illustrations. The environments, abandoned homes, cracked highways, rusting billboards, are all infused with physical decay and analog grit, making even CGI elements appear tactile and tangible. Dust particles, weathered textures, and degraded structures are rendered in such detail that they simulate a documentary-like realism. This grounded visual language prevents the CGI from ever feeling digital or out of place. Even floating war machines look like they belong. Film Projector #2. Technology in service of human emotion. Rather than using visual effects for spectacle, the film employs them as extensions of emotion. The robot companion, created via performance capture and CGI layering, subtly mirrors Michelle's emotional journey. Its eyes, posture, and small gestures evolve with her, suggesting emotion without dialogue. Abandoned AI machines sometimes glitch or stutter, reflecting the broken state of the world, a metaphor for the character's own emotional fragmentation. Flashback sequences use digital distortion, flickering imagery, and hazy overlays to show how memory has been corrupted, especially as Michelle tries to recall her brother. These visual tools are not flashy. They are deeply psychological, bringing us into Michelle's emotional headspace. Movie Camera 3. Camera interaction and physicality of CGI elements. A hallmark of strong VFX is how convincingly they interact with real-world elements. In the Electric State, CGI drones cast accurate shadows and reflect in puddles or glass. The robot kicks up dust, shakes leaves, and affects lighting in real time. Characters frequently touch or lean against CGI structures, like half-ruined VR pods or robotic debris, and the transitions are seamless, thanks to a combination of motion tracking, lighting calibration, and detailed compositing. This level of integration shows the VFX team's commitment to immersion over intrusion. 4. Combination of practical and digital effects. Unlike films that go fully digital, the Electric State mixes practical effects and CGI to create a lived-in feel. The robot character was often partially built on set to give actors a physical point of interaction, especially its torso or hands. Props like decaying helmets, rusted mechanical limbs, and analog computer panels were handcrafted by production designers, then digitally enhanced for expression, motion, or scale. Backgrounds often blend on-location shooting with digital extensions, e.g., a destroyed skyline or distant AI towers. This hybrid approach strengthens believability and allows the VFX to blend into the narrative fabric rather than float above it. Sparkles 5. Visual symbolism through CGI. The visual effects are also deeply symbolic. Giant, dormant drones symbolize technological guilt and abandonment, like relics of a god humanity no longer believes in. Glowing neural networks and decaying VR headsets symbolize our dependence on escapism and how artificial memory can outlive real emotion. In one scene, a field of mechanical ruins eerily resembles a cemetery, subtly connecting the death of machines to the loss of human life. These moments show that VFX are not just technical, they are poetic visual metaphors for the themes of the story. Electric light bulb 6. Use of light and color in VFX scenes. Color and lighting play a massive role in CGI-driven scenes. Warm, golden tones dominate daylight scenes, suggesting faded memory and emotional warmths. Cold blues and grays are used in VR-related scenes or moments of emotional distance, visually separating reality from illusion. The interplay of natural and artificial light, sunlight hitting the metal of a robot, flickering holographic screens in dusk, adds mood and texture to each frame. These lighting techniques make digital elements feel cinematic and painterly, not sterile. Explosion symbol 7. Standout visual sequences. Here are 3 moments where CGI particularly shines. The drone graveyard. Michelle walks through a valley filled with dormant war drones, all sculpted with breathtaking detail. Some leaking oil, others half submerged in earth. The silence and scale make this a visually and emotionally stunning set piece. The VR collapse. A scene where old VR networks begin to glitch and collapse in sync with Michelle's realization about her brother. It's a digital metaphor for the shattering of denial. Robot's final scene. The emotional climax, where the robot's movements become slower, more human, and ultimately still. It's a moment where CGI conveys death without a single word. The subtle shutdown sequence is a triumph of digital acting. Bullseye conclusion. VFX that support, not steal, the spotlight. The Electric State, 2025, sets a high standard for visual effects, not because it overwhelms the viewer with digital spectacle, but because it quietly elevates the story's emotional and philosophical core. CGI serves narrative. Digital enhances reality. Visuals evoke emotion. The result is a film that's as visually groundbreaking as it is emotionally profound, a reminder that in the hands of true artists, technology isn't just for building worlds, it's for touching souls. Would you like a complete YouTube review script with this included? Or shall I create a shorter summary version for voiceover use on your Facts and Review channel? Abandoned House # The Electric State, 2025, a set design and locations analysis. Blending decay, nostalgia, and futuristic dystopia for a visually gripping world. Clapperboard introduction, a post-apocalyptic world that feels lived in. The Electric State transports audiences into a haunting version of 1997 America, a landscape ravaged by a technological war and overrun with relics of a forgotten digital age. Through meticulous production design and location choices, the film creates a world that is not only believable, but emotionally resonant. Every setting tells a story, echoing themes of memory, isolation, and the unintended consequences of innovation. 1. Physical spaces that feel real, ruined, and remembered. From desolate highways to rust-covered towns, each environment in the film is carefully constructed to feel authentically aged and worn. Abandoned homes still filled with scattered children's toys, broken VR headsets, and old photographs hint at families who once lived and fled in a hurry. Crumbling small towns are depicted with signage that's partially obscured by overgrowth, faded neon, and structural decay. These details ground the viewer in a world that clearly once thrived, now left in silence. The roadside diners, gas stations, and dilapidated motels are all designed with painstaking realism, as if lifted from an Americana time capsule and filtered through post-apocalyptic grief. These locations offer more than visual spectacle. They embody the emotional decay central to the story. National Park #2. Outdoor locations, a landscape scarred by war and time. Shot across multiple real-world desert, rural, and industrial locations, the film benefits from vast, open environments that convey both freedom and desolation. The wide, empty highways symbolize Michelle's long journey across a broken nation. Their cracked pavement and abandoned vehicles serve as constant reminders of collapse. The natural surroundings, mountains, valleys, and fog-drenched forests, contrast sharply with remnants of high-tech infrastructure, creating a stark visual tension between organic nature and artificial ruin. Iconic sequences feature meadows full of dead drones, destroyed cityscapes visible on distant horizons, and overgrown server farms, hauntingly quiet yet loaded with story context. These backdrops are never passive. They interact with the characters' emotional states, especially Michelle's isolation and growing self-reliance. 3. Set design as character development. In The Electric State, The production design often mirrors the protagonist's emotional and psychological journey. Michelle's van, which she uses to travel across the country, is decorated with sentimental objects, Polaroids, maps, small mementos, becoming a visual symbol of her desire to hold on to memory and identity. Her robot companion's interaction with the world, sitting on broken park benches, scanning old newspapers, hiding under collapsed roofs, helps emphasize the contrast between machine innocence and human loss. Locations change as Michelle changes. Early settings are colder, more desolate. Later scenes show slightly more color, light, and open sky, visually mirroring a soft shift from dispo to fragile hope. Thus, environments in the film aren't static, they are expressive emotional terrains. 4. Props and objects. Micro-design that tells macro stories. The props in the electric state are not just background dressing, they are miniature storytelling devices. Obsolete VR helmets, often cracked or glowing faintly, evoke the film's themes of digital escapism and technological abandonment. Old toys, worn books, rusted tools, and forgotten clothing fill domestic spaces, creating a rich sense of history and grief. Digital signage, still running corrupted ads or emergency messages, serves as a ghostly reminder of a world that moved too fast for its own good. Each object is chosen and placed with care, ensuring that the smallest details contribute to the larger thematic canvas. Building construction #5. Contrast between urban decay and nature's return. A recurring visual motif in the film is the encroachment of nature. In once bustling cities, vines creep up skyscrapers, and trees grow through office windows, a reminder that life goes on after collapse. Quiet rural areas are shown slowly reclaiming old tech, animals nest in drone wreckage, and rain collects inside hollowed-out computers. This design philosophy emphasizes the film's environmental and philosophical message. Human progress without responsibility leads to collapse, and nature waits patiently to return. Round pushpin 6. Signature set pieces and locations. Some key locations leave a lasting visual and emotional impact. The Server Cathedral, a massive, cathedral-like space filled with humming server racks, now mostly dark. This location plays into religious imagery of tech worship, and is where Michelle discovers critical information about her brother. Drone Graveyard, a surreal, open field where hundreds of broken drones lie in pieces. It's both beautiful and horrifying, an unforgettable emblem of the war's aftermath. The Forest of Holograms, a chilling location where ghost-like holograms flicker endlessly, suggesting people who vanished into virtual reality but never returned. Each of these locations offers more than just aesthetics. They build emotion, deepen mystery, and carry metaphorical weight. White heavy checkmark conclusion. Set design that feels authentic and poetic. In the electric state, set design and location work are essential pillars of its success. Through a mix of practical environments, real-world locations, and detailed prop design, the film constructs a dystopia that is both visually compelling and narratively vital. The world feels lived in, but not artificially constructed. Each location supports character arcs and thematic exploration. Emotion, mood, and story are etched into the walls, streets, and silence of every setting. This isn't just good set design, it's cinematic world-building of the highest order. Would you like a visual breakdown, infographic, or YouTube narration script using this analysis for your facts and review channel? I can format this as a spoken script or video text if needed. Abandoned House #The Electric State, 2025, ultra-detailed analysis of set design and locations. A hauntingly believable retrofuture America, brought to life through layered environments, purposeful decay, and immersive realism. 1. World-building through set layering, designing a collapsed civilization. The production designers didn't just build cool sci-fi backdrops. They deconstructed a vision of America through the lens of post-technological collapse. Homes are filled with signs of human absence, moldy food, half-packed luggage, toys on the floor. These lived-in traces give a sense that society fell apart rapidly. Set pieces aren't shiny or futuristic. Instead, they are cracked, scorched, and weathered, echoing a used future aesthetic reminiscent of Children of Men or District 9. Interiors, e.g. abandoned classrooms, burnt-out shopping centers, use natural overgrowth, rain damage, and power failure lighting to convey decades of rot and abandonment. The world has outlasted its inhabitants. It's not dystopia by design, it's dystopia by neglect, and the sets feel painfully real. Hammer and Wrench #2. Integration of analog tech in design aesthetic. Inspired by Simon Stålenhag's artwork, the film's locations merge 1970s and 1990s design styles with failed futuristic technology. Walls often have exposed CRT screens, analog switches, VHS tapes, and thick cable bundles tangled around faded wallpaper, showing a world stuck mid-transition. Vehicles are retrofitted, pickup trucks with radar dishes, radio towers made of scrap metal, and vintage arcade machines repurposed into interfaces for defunct AI. The use of rotary phones, cassette players, and old microwaves scattered among ultramodern drone husks creates temporal dissonance, a timeline fractured by its own inventions. This hybrid set design reinforces the idea of a future built on the bones of the past, technologically advanced yet emotionally regressive. Map #3. Locations mirroring character psychology. Michelle's journey through these ruined landscapes isn't just physical, it's emotional. Each major location corresponds to a shift in her internal state. Beginning isolation, she begins in small, empty towns that are dusty, beige, and eerily still. The lack of sound or color emphasizes her detachment and grief. Middle, discovery as she uncovers more about her brother and the machines. The environments become visually richer but more menacing: deep forests, rusted tech ruins, stormy backdrops. These reflect growing uncertainty and emotional intensity. End, acceptance. Final locations show more natural integration. Vines overtaking machines, sunlight breaking through clouds, suggesting emotional catharsis and possible rebirth. Set progression is structured like a character arc, from despair to confrontation to fragile hope. Pushpin 4. Hyperspecific locations and their symbolism. Let's look at a few noteworthy set pieces. Satellite dish, the abandoned tech outpost. A former military or tech research station, now overtaken by silence. Monitors flicker with static. Empty desks are covered in dust and coffee mugs. Michelle finds recordings here, a symbol of past knowledge buried in bureaucracy. Joystick hash, the arcade ruin. An old game arcade, now a husk. Machines light up erratically as power surges. The childish joy once associated with this space is turned into something haunted and ironic. It reflects the loss of innocence and corrupted nostalgia, play turned to decay. Ear of Rice, the drone graveyard. Drones lie like skeletons, half buried in fields, nature reclaiming machines of war. It's a space of eerie silence. The mechanical giants, once terrifying, are now inert. This area functions like a battlefield memorial, confronting Michelle's trauma and forcing reflection. Left-pointing magnifying glass 5. Detail-driven production design choices. Designers went as far as to create custom graffiti and resistance slogans in background walls, like "memory is a weapon" or "opt out of the circuit." Use real-world props aged over months to achieve natural corrosion and not artificial-looking damage. Layer background items to tell micronarratives, like a grocery store where shelves are looted only for baby food, or a school desk where homework is still open mid-sentence. These aren't just Easter eggs, they quietly build world texture, without needing exposition. Milky Way 6. Use of space to evoke feeling. How space is used, and emptiness, specifically, matters. Large, empty halls emphasize loneliness and the scale of collapse. Tightly packed, cluttered spaces, like control rooms or surveillance bunkers, increase tension and claustrophobia. Locations alternate between oppressive industrialism, server towers, tech outposts, and liberating openness, sunset highways, misty meadows, pacing the emotional rhythm of the narrative. Even silence has set design. The sound of wind over empty concrete echoes the emotional void left behind. Road #7. Environmental storytelling, letting locations speak. The film excels in nonverbal storytelling through its environments. Instead of flashbacks, we see family photos, broken helmets, and AI posters deteriorating in sunlight. A sequence in a VR center shows hundreds of reclined chairs, empty but still powered, indicating a mass event. The viewer deduces tragedy from the setting alone. Some rural communities leave behind homemade warning signs, barricades, or robot traps, all suggesting panic, resistance, or survival attempts. In this way, the locations themselves become characters, witnesses to human history, testaments of loss. Bullseye conclusion: immersion built on dust, memory, and decay. The set design and locations of the Electric State are not only richly imagined, but essential to its thematic depth. They don't just show a ruined world, they make us feel it. Tangible, analog, and emotionally grounded. Symbolic reflections of inner character journeys. Filled with micro-details and macro-themes that elevate every frame. Through its production design, the film tells a second, parallel story, a visual elegy for a civilization that dreamed too big and paid the price. Would you like a YouTube voiceover version, a scripted review, or break this down into chapters for your channel facts and review. I can also make this into a visual slideshow script with callouts for shots and visuals. Memo: The Electric State, 2025, Dialogue and Script Analysis. Quiet power, poetic language, and emotional precision in a post-technological journey. Performing Arts 1. Writing style, intimate, minimal, and thematically rich. The script of The Electric State, adapted from Simon Stålenhag's graphic novel by Christopher Markus and Stephen McFeely, doesn't rely on lengthy exposition or heavy dialogue. Instead, it embraces a subtle, restrained approach that allows silence and visuals to speak as loudly as the spoken word. Much of the dialogue is fragmented, reflective, and internal, resembling real conversations between people who are emotionally guarded or surviving trauma. The script balances emotional vulnerability with narrative efficiency. Characters don't explain everything. They reveal truths through pauses, hesitation, or what they choose not to say. The tone remains consistent throughout, melancholic, contemplative, and sometimes quietly poetic, fitting the mood of a dystopia seen through a child's eyes. It's a film where what is felt often matters more than what is said, and the script reflects that ethos. #handshake #2. Character-driven dialogue, real, raw, and resonant. The core of the script's strength lies in its authentic character voices, especially between Michelle and her robot companion Skip. Speaking head in silhouette Michelle, played by Millie Bobby Brown. Her dialogue is laced with grief, defiance, and longing, especially when talking about her missing brother or navigating ruined towns. She speaks like a teenager forced to grow up too soon, brief, guarded statements interspersed with sudden emotional outbursts. Her vulnerability shines in quieter moments. For example, when looking at an old family photo, she says, "They used to say everything would be better with machines. Maybe they meant quieter." A line like this captures pain, irony, and reflection in a single sentence. Robot face Skip, the robot. His dialogue is programmed and methodical, but grows more human as the journey progresses. The contrast between Michelle's emotional bursts and Skip's logical calm creates moments of tension, humor, and surprising tenderness. In one scene, after watching Michelle cry over a memory, Skip says, "I do not dream, but I remember. Is that the same thing?" A subtle line, but loaded with existential depth and emotional development. The relationship is built not just through words, but how the characters learn to understand each other across silence. Speech Balloon 3. Thematic depth in words, memory, loss, identity. The dialogue often serves to reinforce the central themes of the story. Technology versus humanity. Characters comment on the failure of machines to replace human connection. Lines like, "We made machines to carry our pain, but they dropped it," explore deep philosophical tension in a digestible, evocative way. Memory and time. The script includes recurring dialogue motifs around remembering, forgetting, and moving forward, fitting for a world haunted by the past. You don't lose people all at once. You lose them in echoes. Hope in despair. Even in bleak moments, the writing slips in flickers of hope. Michelle's closing monologue is especially powerful, paraphrased. "If the world ends again, I hope it ends with someone waiting for someone else. That's all that ever kept it spinning." These lines are not over-explained. Their emotional precision and quiet delivery give them weight. Writing hand #4. Pacing and structure of script, steady, introspective, impactful. The script doesn't follow a typical high-action, plot-heavy rhythm. Instead, it embraces a road movie structure, letting characters grow through travel and experience. The dialogue-to-silence ratio is intentional. Long stretches of minimal speech give way to intimate, impactful exchanges. This ebb and flow strengthens emotional engagement. Flashbacks and hallucinations are occasionally used to show fragments of dialogue from the past, Michelle's memories of her brother, and these are stylistically blurred, reinforcing the fragmented mental state she's in. Dialogue is strategically placed, never overused, always loaded with meaning. Glowing star 5. Standout moments and memorable lines. Several lines stand out for their poetic simplicity or haunting resonance. Michelle, reflecting on a ruined town. It feels like everyone left in the middle of a sentence. Skip, after helping her through a near-death experience. My protocol says protect the operator. But I chose you. Stranger at a survivor camp. You can survive anything, if you forget enough of who you were. Michelle's closing line. Home isn't a place anymore. It's the direction you're still willing to walk toward. These lines do more than sound clever. They encapsulate themes, character arcs, and the emotional soul of the film. Bullseye conclusion. Script that speaks through whispers. The Electric State doesn't aim for witty banter or dense exposition. Its script is quiet, evocative, and purposeful, designed to support a world where so much has been lost that every word matters. The dialogue feels natural but refined, shaped by grief, memory, and survival. Characters speak less and feel more, letting tone, context, and silence convey emotional truth. Standout lines are few but deeply memorable, enhancing the film's lasting impression. It's a script that whispers, but leaves echoes long after the credits roll. Would you like this adapted into a YouTube voiceover, infographic, or top 10 dialogue moments format for your facts and review channel? I can also help write an intro and outro for your video around this theme. Clap aboard the Electric State, 2025, Genre Execution Analysis. Not your typical sci-fi road movie. It's a melancholic odyssey that blends genre with emotion, memory, and loss. Gear #1. Genre classification. Sci-fi meets post-apocalyptic drama. At its core, the Electric State belongs to multiple overlapping genres. Science fiction, central AI themes, autonomous robots, futuristic decay. Post-apocalyptic road film, a journey through a ruined America. Coming-of-age drama, focused on a teenager processing grief and growth. Dystopian mystery, unfolding truths about the world and her missing brother. Unlike many action-heavy, plot-driven science fiction films, The Electric State leans more toward emotional and philosophical introspection, drawing influence from works like The Road, Her, and Annihilation rather than Transformers or Edge of Tomorrow. The film quietly resists conventional sci-fi tropes, opting for mood, reflection, and metaphor over spectacle. 2. Subversion of sci-fi expectations. Rather than leaning into flashy tech, space travel, or warlike conflict, the film subverts genre expectations in key ways. Robots as emotional anchors, not villains or saviors. The robot Skip is neither an evil AI nor a superpowered sidekick. He functions as an emotional constant, a protector and mirror to Michelle's grief, representing the humanization of machines rather than their dominance. World building without exposition dumps. The film avoids info-heavy dialogues, instead showing a world that explains itself visually, through decaying infrastructure, ruined billboards, abandoned tech stations, and silent wastelands. No traditional villain or final battle. There is no central antagonist in a conventional sense. The conflict is internal and environmental. Michelle versus memory, versus abandonment, versus a crumbling world. By refusing to conform to genre rules, the film carves out a unique space that's both grounded and speculative. Crosswords #3. Action and suspense, minimalist but effective. Unlike mainstream dystopian films that feature frequent chases, shootouts, or dramatic confrontations, The Electric State opts for sporadic, grounded action, brief robot attacks, drone surveillance, or survivalist conflicts. Action serves as punctuation, not propulsion. It heightens tension but doesn't define the film's rhythm. Suspense arises more from emotional uncertainty than physical peril. Michelle's fear of being alone, of forgetting, of never finding closure. Action is subdued, but when it happens, it's deeply felt, raw, urgent, and personal. Performing arts 4. Emotional drama as the film's core engine. Where most genre films build their stakes through plot escalation, The Electric State builds its impact through emotional escalation. Each scene reveals a little more about Michelle's trauma and inner world. Character-driven suspense. Will she find her brother? Will she learn to trust the robot? Can she survive without becoming emotionally numb? Tonal consistency. The film never strays into melodrama or comedy. It remains focused, melancholic, and meditative. This gives the film a slow-burn quality, one that rewards patience and emotional investment over adrenaline. 5. Blending genre elements seamlessly. The film expertly weaves its genre threads into a cohesive narrative. Sci-fi concepts, AI, drone warfare, neurointerface tech, are grounded in intimate human consequences. The road movie structure, traveling across a fractured America, provides both physical and emotional distance from the world Michelle once knew. Elements of mystery, what happened to her brother, what caused the collapse, what is the robot hiding, are unraveled through discovery rather than confrontation. It's not a genre mashup. It's a genre reconfiguration, where themes of grief, memory, and identity override sci-fi formulas. Electric light bulb 6. Introduction of fresh ideas. The Electric State brings several fresh thematic and visual concepts to genre filmmaking. Analog future aesthetic. The film's version of the future isn't shiny, it's decayed, analog, and analogically emotional. CRT monitors, cassette tapes, rotary phones, and VHS culture coexist with AI-driven machines. Machine consciousness without AI tropes. Rather than pondering if machines can replace us, the film questions if they can understand us, if memory, attachment, and protection can be coded. Post-apocalypse without collapse porn. There's no obsession with mass destruction. Instead, it presents a quiet, slow-death collapse, emphasizing human absence and silence. 7. Thematic depth, more than just a genre piece. Loss, loneliness, and grief. At its heart, this is a story about a girl trying to hold on to her identity and memories in a world that wants her to forget. Dependence on technology. Instead of preaching, the film presents a cautionary tale where people vanished because they depended too much on machines, not out of malice, but apathy. Hope through connection. Ultimately, it's about the power of emotional connection between humans and machines to restore meaning. These deeper layers elevate the film beyond genre and into thematic cinema. Bullseye conclusion, a sci-fi film that speaks to the soul. The Electric State, 2025, is not a sci-fi blockbuster in the conventional sense. Instead, it's a character-first, emotion-led experience wrapped in a speculative setting. A subversion of genre expectations, balancing minimalism with intimacy. A visual and thematic reimagining of post-apocalyptic sci-fi, grounded in memory, identity, and empathy. While audiences expecting laser fights or AI revolts might find it slower than expected, those seeking depth, originality, and genre evolution will discover a profound, unforgettable film. Would you like this breakdown turned into a YouTube segment, narrative script, or a top 5 genre twists list for your facts and review channel? I can also help create a chaptered video voiceover script from this analysis. The Electric State, 2025, Social and Cultural Commentary. A haunting mirror of modern dependence, digital addiction, and emotional isolation in a collapsing society. 1. Core themes reflecting contemporary society. While The Electric State is set in a dystopian future, its commentary is sharply rooted in present-day social concerns, including technological overdependence, mental health crises, social fragmentation, corporate exploitation, the erosion of human connection. The film doesn't preach these topics directly. Instead, it embeds them subtly into world-building, character arcs, and visual cues, letting viewers make their own connections. It's not a political rant. It's a poetic reflection of what happens when machines outlive meaning and people become lost in virtual shadows. 2. Digital addiction and escapism. At the heart of the film lies the terrifying vision of a society that chose to disappear into its screens. The fictional world features citizens who once wore neural headsets that linked them to digital dreamscapes. These individuals are now either dead or mentally vacant, lost in digital feedback loops. This directly comments on modern-day issues of screen addiction, social media immersion, and virtual escapism. The film asks, what happens when our digital lives become more comforting than our real ones? What's left of us once we're fully plugged in? The addiction to this immersive technology resembles opioid-like dependency, presenting virtual stimulation as both a comfort and a killer. The message is clear. The more we try to escape reality through technology, the more we risk losing what makes us human. Cityscape #3. Corporate collapse and techno-capitalism. The decaying society in the Electric State was once dominated by powerful tech conglomerates, particularly one shadowy company that manufactured the neural interface systems and autonomous war machines. This storyline reflects big tech dominance in modern life. The rise and eventual failure of such companies in the film critiques how real-world corporations like Meta, Google, and others continue to shape public behavior, often with little accountability. Profit over ethics. The machines and networks weren't built to improve society. They were created to control, monetize, or pacify. As one character in the film bitterly remarks, they sold us dreams we couldn't wake up from. AI and automation gone unchecked. The fallout of unregulated tech innovation reflects fears around AI replacing human jobs, decision-making, and even relationships. This is a dystopia born not from malice, but from capitalism that refused to stop until the system ate itself. Robot Face 4. Loss of human connection. The film's emotional core, Michelle and her robot companion Skip, is a counterpoint to a world that has lost empathy. Most of the society is shown as fragmented or emotionally disengaged. There are few communities, little trust, and no functioning government. This reflects the atomization of modern life, isolation, distrust in institutions, the breakdown of family units, and loneliness despite digital connection. Michelle's journey is one of reclaiming emotional bonds, first with the memory of her brother, then with her non-human protector. The message is poignant. In a world full of machines, what saves us isn't power, it's empathy. Broken Heart 5. Commentary on trauma and memory. The film also touches on the psychological toll of a collapsing world. Michelle's PTSD-like symptoms, hallucinations, and obsession with memory reflect how people internalize collapse. In some scenes, machines replicate or project human memories, simulated nostalgia, forcing us to ask whether technology is preserving our past or distorting it. One haunting line underscores this theme. I remember him like a movie I forgot I watched. The story suggests that memory, grief, and trauma are not just individual. They are cultural diseases in a society trying to forget its own failures. Globe showing Europe Africa 6. Climate and environmental subtext. Though not overt, the devastated American landscape, dry plains, abandoned cities, crumbling infrastructure, echoes climate anxiety. No natural disaster is explicitly mentioned, but the environment is undeniably scarred. It evokes imagery of a world that has been strip-mined of purpose, economically and ecologically. In this way, the film presents environmental decay as both physical and spiritual. Scales #7. Balance. Subtle, never preachy. One of the film's biggest strengths is how naturally these themes are embedded. No character stops to explain the message. There are no political slogans, forced metaphors, or virtue signals. Instead, the themes are lived through the world, seen in visual storytelling, character actions, and emotional tone. This gives the film credibility and depth, allowing audiences to reflect and interpret without being lectured. Bullseye conclusion, a somber, elegant social reflection. The Electric State, 2025, offers one of the most thoughtful, understated critiques of modern culture in recent science fiction. It warns of a future where emotional apathy, digital escapism, and unchecked tech converge into social collapse. Yet, it also champions the power of emotional connection, memory, and empathy in restoring lost humanity. Its commentary is layered, mature, and timely, forcing viewers to ask, is this future too far off, or already here? Would you like this rewritten as a YouTube narration script, review blog, or video essay outline for your facts and review channel? I can also create a hook-driven voiceover version with timestamps and visuals. Movie Camera The Electric State, 2025, Audience Engagement. A deeply personal sci-fi film that draws the audience in through intimacy, atmosphere, and emotional weight rather than spectacle. Red Heart #1. Emotional connection, the core of the experience. The Electric State is not a typical high-octane sci-fi film. Rather, it aims for emotional immersion. At the heart of the story is Michelle, a grieving teenager searching for her brother in a decaying, robot-haunted America. This emotional premise resonates deeply with audiences who relate to themes of loss, loneliness, and memory. Find meaning in quiet, character-driven storytelling. Appreciate films that offer empathy through speculative worlds. The bond between Michelle and her robotic companion Skip is particularly effective in stirring emotion. Their silent communication and subtle trust development evoke warmth and tenderness, especially in moments of shared vulnerability, which often move the audience to tears or quiet reflection. Audiences aren't just watching Michelle's journey. They are feeling it unfold, piece by piece, through her eyes. High Voltage Sign 2. Strong moments that elicit emotion. The film crafts several emotionally resonant moments, rather than leaning on action-driven highs. These include melancholic flashbacks of Michelle's life before the collapse, often presented through flickering footage or dreamlike montages. A key scene where Skip sacrifices his own safety to protect Michelle, drawing audible gasps and emotional responses in theaters. The discovery of her brother's fate, which is not dramatic in a traditional sense, but quietly devastating. The final moments of the film, which leave a lingering sense of hope mixed with sorrow, often bringing audiences to silent contemplation or emotional closure. These moments don't rely on bombast, but on authentic emotional truth, and audiences respond to that with empathy and thoughtfulness. 3. Intellectual and philosophical engagement. Beyond the emotional weight, The Electric State engages viewers intellectually. Speculative ideas about technology, memory, and identity provoke post-viewing discussions. Viewers are left questioning, how far are we from this future? What are we trading away in the name of convenience and connection? Can AI ever truly understand human grief? This deeper subtext encourages repeat viewings, especially for those who enjoy interpreting visual metaphors, layered dialogue, and thematic ambiguity. It's the kind of film that lives on in online discussions, Reddit threads, and quiet conversations long after the credits roll. Repeat button 4. Rewatch value. Several aspects increase the film's rewatchability. Visual symbolism, many visual cues, rusting machinery, decayed tech, graffiti on broken walls, take on deeper meanings upon second viewing. Subtle emotional beats, Michelle's interactions with Skip, or silent reactions to abandoned locations, reveal more on rewatch. Foreshadowing and clues, details about the collapse and her brother's journey are seeded throughout. Some are easy to miss the first time. This makes it rewarding for thoughtful audiences, who enjoy piecing together fragments of a larger emotional and narrative mosaic. Speech Balloon 5. Conversation Starter, a film that lingers. The Electric State invites meaningful conversation, particularly among fans of introspective science fiction, Blade Runner 2049, Children of Men, Annihilation. Post-apocalyptic realism, like The Road or A Quiet Place. Technosocial cautionary tales, Her, Black Mirror. It raises questions about technology and emotional replacement, grief and personal recovery, the value of memories in a world trying to erase them. Viewers often report continued emotional processing days after watching, proving the film's lasting psychological and emotional impact. Performing Arts 6. Broader appeal versus niche targeting. While the film is acclaimed by critics and emotionally resonant for patient viewers, its pace and introspective tone might alienate audiences expecting fast-paced sci-fi. Younger audiences and fans of Marvel-style spectacle may find it too slow or abstract. However, cinephiles and those drawn to artful storytelling, layered emotion, and quiet world-building become strong advocates for the film. Its emotional intelligence may not hit everyone, but for those it does, it becomes unforgettable. Bullseye conclusion. A deeply felt journey. The Electric State, 2025, engages audiences by forging an emotional bond through character-driven storytelling, delivering poignant moments that invite both sadness and quiet hope, offering philosophical reflection rather than action thrills, encouraging repeat viewings and rich post-film discussion. This is a film that doesn't ask you to sit back and be entertained. It invites you in, asks you to feel, and leaves you changed. Would you like me to turn this into a YouTube voiceover script, emotional breakdown video, or a top 10 moments that hit hard format for your facts and review channel? I can also help with thumbnail text and captions. Clap aboard The Electric State, 2025, comparisons to similar films. A hauntingly beautiful sci-fi tale that bridges emotional intimacy and technological commentary, setting itself apart from genre cliches while honoring its cinematic ancestry. Film #1. Comparison with similar sci-fi films. The Electric State belongs to a subgenre often referred to as emotional science fiction or introspective post-apocalyptic sci-fi. It doesn't rely on spectacle or fast-paced action. Instead, it builds a slow-burning, meditative world full of atmosphere and personal grief. White heavy checkmark similar films. Title similarity key difference. Blade Runner 2049 dystopian future. Themes of identity. Melancholy tone Electric State is more intimate and personal, with a youthful protagonist and familial grief. The road journey through a ruined America, emotional survival tale Electric State adds robotic and technological layers with visual sci-fi flair. A Quiet Place post-apocalyptic emotional core, minimal exposition Electric State trades suspense for sorrow and philosophical subtext. Her commentary on tech and isolation Electric State replaces romance with sibling love and broader collapse. After Young Tech and Memory, soft tone. Grief Electric State is more grounded in a decaying world with larger-scale visual elements. Like these films, The Electric State focuses more on what it feels like to live through a world ending slowly, not with a bang, but with silence and loss. Clapperboard 2. How it stands out in the genre. While many post-apocalyptic films focus on war or survival, heroic quests, dystopian governments or rebellion, The Electric State shifts the lens inward. It breaks away from traditional tropes by avoiding typical villains or rebellion plots, focusing on a teenage girl's inner world and emotional healing, portraying robots not as threats, but as relics of a broken society, and, in Skip's case, as companions. This emotional minimalism feels fresh in a genre oversaturated with noise, violence, and high-concept gimmicks. Additionally, its visual tone, dusty highways, muted color palettes, crumbling tech structures, gives it a storybook meets reality vibe not often seen in mainstream sci-fi. Movie Camera 3. In the context of the Russo brothers' filmography, directors Anthony and Joe Russo are best known for large-scale action blockbusters like Avengers, Infinity War, 2018, Avengers, Endgame, 2019, The Gray Man, 2022, Cherry, 2021. While their Marvel work focused on ensemble storytelling and global stakes, The Electric State marks a dramatic shift in tone and focus. It trades action for introspection, swaps spectacle for emotional subtlety, uses CGI not to dazzle but to create haunting landscapes and quiet companions. The closest tonal comparison in their filmography is Cherry, another character-driven, emotional journey, though Electric State is far more elegant and restrained. This shows the Russo brothers' range and maturity as filmmakers, proving they can move beyond franchise-driven cinema and into artful, meditative storytelling. Squared New 4. Does it bring something new? Absolutely. While The Electric State is inspired by past works, it does the following uniquely. Centers on a non-romantic, platonic love story, sibling bond plus robot companion. Delivers sci-fi themes with a fairy tale softness, not gritty realism. Adapts Simon Stålenhag's visual artwork with striking fidelity, bringing a painterly aesthetic to life that hasn't been seen in cinema quite this way. It combines the aesthetic of an art book, the heart of a road movie, and the tone of a soft elegy, a rare blend. Thought Balloon 5. Audience perception in comparison. Compared to more action-heavy sci-fi, some general audiences may find The Electric State too slow or introspective if expecting action, like The Maze Runner or I Am Legend. Too emotionally raw if hoping for escapism, but deeply rewarding for fans of grounded, emotional science fiction. Critics and fans of cerebral sci-fi place it in the company of Arrival, 2016, Children of Men, 2006, Ex Machina, 2014. For these viewers, The Electric State doesn't just stand among them. It earns its place with quiet confidence. Bullseye conclusion, a refreshing outlier in sci-fi cinema. The Electric State, 2025, isn't here to repeat the formulas of its genre. Instead, it joins a rare class of thoughtful, emotionally driven science fiction films. Compared to both blockbuster-heavy and indie cerebral sci-fi, it offers a more human, intimate story in a digital world. It diverges from the Russo brothers' past work, revealing new creative depth. It invites comparisons to Blade Runner 2049 and Her, but walks its own lonely, beautiful path. In a world of CGI explosions and end-of-world tropes, The Electric State is a whisper, and sometimes whispers stay with us longer than screams. Would you like this section tailored into a video comparison script, a blog review segment, or perhaps a YouTube voiceover intro comparing The Electric State to its sci-fi peers with visual references? Milky Way: The Electric State, 2025, Symbolism and Metaphors. A haunting, post-apocalyptic elegy where every frame whispers layered meaning, and every object holds a quiet story of what was lost. School Satchel 1. The Robot Skip, a metaphor for memory and emotional anchoring. The robot companion Skip is more than a character. He represents memory, a relic from a time when technology served humans emotionally, not just functionally. His existence reminds Michelle, and the viewer, of a past filled with warmth and connection. Surrogate sibling or parent. As Michelle searches for her brother, Skip becomes a stand-in, symbolizing emotional attachment and stability in a collapsing world. Human AI empathy. His loyalty and quiet understanding metaphorically challenge the idea that machines cannot feel or care, making Skip a symbol of humanity's projections onto technology. Skip's worn-down body, rusted joints, and expressive silence mirror the inner decay of Michelle's world. His presence says more through silence than words ever could, reflecting the emotional repression and resilience of the main character herself. Road #2. The road, symbol of transition, escape, and fate. The film's central visual motif is the road, stretching endlessly across abandoned landscapes. It serves as a metaphor on multiple levels. Life's journey. The road is the classic metaphor for a personal quest. Here, Michelle's journey is not just geographic, but emotional and existential. Escape from the past. The path ahead offers uncertain hope, while the road behind is filled with sorrow, regret, and memories. Transition between two eras. As Michelle moves through broken towns and collapsing tech, the road also represents the death of one civilization and the emergence of something undefined. Key moments like the robot lying lifeless beside a torn billboard, or Michelle staring at the fading horizon, reinforce this motif of wandering between memory and meaning. Clock #3. Broken technology, symbol of lost potential and human dependence. Scattered across the film are decaying remnants of once advanced tech, ruined drones, disconnected cables, towers fallen like corpses. These are not just set design choices, they are symbolic fossils, representing the hubris of humanity and its failed ambition to create a perfect digital world, reminding us of how fast progress can rot and how even the most powerful systems are fragile when emotional or spiritual connections are absent. Serving as ghosts of civilization, silently mourning what used to be. The fact that Michelle walks through these ruins, still hoping to find something human, shows a contrast between technological power and emotional emptiness. I-4. Visual metaphors, the skyline, colors, and framing. Fog color palette as metaphor. The film uses muted browns, blues, and grays, creating a world that feels emotionally drained, a visual representation of grief. Warm hues are reserved for flashbacks and memories, suggesting that joy and emotional richness only exist in the past. Whole empty spaces. Vast, open landscapes filled with silence symbolize emotional isolation. Interiors, especially those of fallen tech hubs or abandoned homes, carry an eerie hollowness, reflecting the mental states of characters who have lost everything. Repeat button repetition of visual motifs. Recurrent shots of Michelle holding her brother's photograph serve as a reminder of memory's persistence, but also the futility of trying to recreate the past. Skip watching Michelle sleep, a silent guardian, emphasizing the theme of nonverbal love and emotional continuity. Television 5. Media screens and signals, symbols of distorted truth. Throughout the film, Michelle encounters flickering monitors, glitched broadcasts, and fragmented audio messages, relics of a fallen communication system. These symbolize the breakdown of collective truth. What was once meant to unite people now only shows fragments, reflecting a society that no longer shares a coherent narrative. Noise over connection, a metaphor for modern digital overload, where real connection gets lost in the static of technological saturation. Personal versus systemic reality. Michelle's quiet journey clashes with the propaganda and artificial optimism still looped on old screens, showing how individual truth diverges from institutional memory. Coffin #6. The collapse itself, a metaphor for emotional numbness. Rather than a single catastrophic event, the electric state shows a gradual, almost quiet collapse of society, mirroring emotional depression or slow disassociation. No giant explosions, no dystopian armies, just a slow fade into silence. This subtle form of apocalypse is symbolic of internal decay. How a person or society doesn't need a violent end to lose its humanity. It can simply forget how to feel. The emotional landscape of the film is its true battleground, not the physical one. 7. Symbolic title, The Electric State. The title itself is metaphorical. Electric evokes a world dominated by technology, but also one that's still alive with energy, even in its decay, hinting at latent emotion, memory, and the spark of hope. State can be read both as a geopolitical entity and as a mental or emotional condition, suggesting that the real story is about the internal state of its characters. Thus, the electric state isn't just the name of a place, it's the condition of a society mourning its soul through its machines. Bullseye conclusion, a layered, symbolic journey through a grieving future. The Electric State, 2025, is rich with symbolism and metaphor, elevating its sci-fi world far beyond aesthetics. Robots represent emotion and memory. Technology reflects both decay and desire. Landscapes become mirrors of the heart. Repetitive visual cues reinforce themes of love, loss, and searching. Every frame feels intentional, a quiet poem written in pixels, rust, and silence. Would you like this breakdown restructured for a YouTube essay script, or converted into a hidden symbolism explained video format for your facts and review channel? I can also prepare a slide-based narration or social media thread if needed.